Greetings, Hive. Hope you all are doing amazing today. It is day 54 of my 90-day challenge. It is enhancement day for week number 9 that will be starting on Monday. Once again, this is being recorded on a Friday. Enhancement days are on a Friday, then followed up by the buffer zone, which is a Saturday, Sunday that gives you time to plan ahead and make your choices either to ease into the implementation day or go day on a Monday, or if it was something that you were eliminating, your last chance of having those certain foods right before we are removing them from our diet here. So yeah, as of now, we are continuing. For myself, I'm continuing from week number 6. So this is the part when week number 9 we are going to be setting off into different paths. So there are technically there's 3 different categories, but overall there as of now there's 2 different paths, and it'll probably switch up even more. I did not take the first path here last time I did this program in last summer of July and August, because I was more in the so there's 3 categories. So first category is if you achieve your desired body and weight composition, you have no more weight to lose, and are fundamentally healthy. So I did not watch those that training, right? Because obviously I'm not there yet. So, but since I'll be hoping to coach a handful of people in the April group, so I'm gonna be watching those videos, but I won't share that unless I'll share that in when we hit April, right? So at least I have understanding of that heading into the next challenge in April, May, June, right? So now the second category, and this is where you're almost there, right? So are more or less healthy. So this is category number 2. Are more or less healthy, still have some weight to release. So either those 5 kilograms, or as they always say, those last 10 pounds are kind of uh, the trickiest, right? So definitely been there, as I was just hitting my goal weight for many many years. I think we'll say since 2013 was always been to hit 150 pounds, right? So 150 pounds, and obviously BMI is a lot lesser than that, but obviously I don't want to feel like scrawny, right, or baby fat. Like I wanted to probably put on some weight, right, especially with the running, right? So obviously those that last 10 pounds was challenging. So even heading into the pandemic at 2020, right, I was already at I was getting to 152, right, and even those last 2 pounds were quite challenging. And then I got injured, and the rest is history. Here we are back from 152, and starting last summer at 224, ending that off to 206, and then this year, start of this year, I started at 213.6, and now down to 196.2. Right, kind of fluctuating because these 2 days, these last few days, I've been eating a little bit more because my energy level has been pretty low. And then, I mean, like I said, that's normal. in two cases of the families going through, wife and son were sick. My son's already recovered, little cough, but my wife definitely not feeling great. Called in sick for work because she's having a heavy cough, right? So and just not feeling it. So that's definitely me fighting that, right? Not feeling like I'm sick, but just feeling tired. And then the other thing is just obviously, been cleaning up my diet. So my we're switching from, you know, running on glucose, running on carbohydrates, and then switching up, letting the body, because we were been reducing that for the last 6 or 7 weeks, right? Obviously now the body's trying to get used to that again, right? So there is a transition, and I've been through it. I was on keto on 2018 and was on that for a good about almost two years, right? Until like summer of 2020 when I got injured, right? So I've been on keto for about 2 years, and it once again felt great. It felt amazing. Those first 3 to 6 months sucked. I definitely had a vacation, and like I was about to chew someone's head off, right? Like, she got to the point where it's summer vacation. Obviously, we went out of town. We went down to Seattle for vacation, and yeah, that was yeah. I was just searching for non-carbohydrate foods, where it was not easy. So definitely, it was a challenge trying to just manage through that. But yeah, I mean, it was training. I was doing marathons at that time, right? So I've done about 2 marathons already, right? So I was let me see, 2017, 2018 to no 2017. So I did 3 marathons already, right? So I was now seeing if I can train a marathon without carbohydrates, right? So that was yeah, I had to start from ground zero, from running a 5K, running a 10K, right? I didn't, and there was not a lot of research at that time. It was just starting. It was just starting, right? So not a lot of recipes and whatnot on eating the ketogenic diet or lifestyle, as they would love to call it. But and honestly, it's a tough lifestyle, and you're restricting yourself to eating a certain way without a lot of flexibility. And I mean, I went 2 years with it. Uh, but yeah, it was a tough one, especially it's just, it's not familiar. Not a lot of people were familiar with it, right? But yeah, it's a different era now. There's just and especially AI coming out, right? So there's a lot of information, a lot more YouTube videos, a lot more social media posts on different recipes, right? To live the ketogenic lifestyle, right? So yeah, it was definitely uh, uh, it's going to be a lot easier for people who are starting that. But once again, there's part of that in this program, especially those working into those first 5 weeks, as we reduce our carbohydrates. And then but then at the same time, we don't stay in one mode, one season for too long. So that's why we had first 5 weeks, and then to build that foundation. So if you continue to do this, every 3 months, 90-day challenge after a 90-day challenge, you technically don't have to do that foundation after completing your first one, right? You just continue on from week 6 to week 9 here, right? Depending on your situation, and just alternating, right? Alternating between the two, right? The spring mode and I believe summer mode, right? We're avoiding the winter mode where it's storing, right, and not releasing. And if you're losing, you need to put on some pounds, and by all means, do a couple of weeks or season in winter mode, right? If you like to. Sorry, sorry. Just yeah, I'm a little bit late on my start of the stream. I got off 1 hour later, almost 2 hours later from my Twitch stream. It's Friday. Friday's a little bit longer stream, but yeah. Where was I? Um, yeah. So don't if you need to put some pounds, then yeah. Um, Obviously, that's where we introduce, and once again, introducing healthy options of carbohydrate, right? Even though there's not a lot, but at least you have the system in place to manage. Go 5 weeks on winter season, maybe 5 weeks back into spring season, which we are now, right? This is spring season, is a great kind of like mimics the ketogenic lifestyle, where you're removing the carbohydrates, right? And you know um, um, cycling through, cleansing out a lot of the stuff, the gunk or the stuff within you, right? Especially you have autophagy, you're uh, you know when they say, it's not great because you use up your proteins, right? It eats up all your proteins. Yes, it'll eat up your proteins, especially if you're at the point where you're not carrying a lot of fat anymore because you reach category 1, right? But at the same time, it's going to prioritize first, you know all the damaged cells, uh, uh, damaged proteins, right? So imagine it like, you're surviving the winter and you didn't cut enough fireworks to last you the winter. Say the winter season went a little bit longer. So obviously, there's not a lot of, firewood. So you'll look around the house and you won't prioritize your expensive stuff, usable stuff, right? You're gonna use the stuff that are either broken, worn down, not important items, right? Just to keep the fire burning, to stay warm longer, right? So the body has a great way to just and once again, it's not about um, eliminating those proteins. It's taking out those old and damaged proteins and recycling it to something that the body can use. So they're making use of this material to create new cells, create new things for our bodies can use. Right. So the body has a wonderful healing factor, and once again, they always say fasting and ketogenic do work hand in hand to for let the body to hit that state to recycle, those old and damaged cells, right? So then once again, the program I'm doing, helps in mimicking that for 5 weeks, and then we we alternate into different zones just to not stay stagnant in one too long. But so yeah, that's definitely category two. Category three, once again, which I was last summer and still am, because I still have to lose. Before I was like talking about losing 70 pounds. Right now, I'm talking about losing just under 50 pounds. So yeah, that's still where I am. So I still need to lose that under 50 pounds. So category three, you have a significant amount of weight to lose, have a series of significant health challenges. So for myself, um, it's going to be an uphill challenge. I did let myself go a lot last year due to, family challenges with my eldest son, right? So went into emotional eating, and then went to a state where now my blood work so came in, and my doctor said that instead of being pre-diabetic, you're officially diabetic. And obviously that was a tough pill to swallow, but I already knew that I wasn't treating myself right last year, and obviously that hurt my wife, and my kids, and my mom, because my mom had to deal with that with my dad, and he passed away at the young age of 62, right? When my first son was born, 4 months before that, um, due to the complications of diabetes. So we kept the news away from my mom for as long as we could, and when she found out, so it happened in April. When she found out in December, when we had our family Christmas gathering, it just it just it just hurt it just hurt her a lot, right? Knowing that now, lost her husband, and then, now her eldest son is on that path, right? So and it was a very tough and challenging time for my dad, who was bedridden for, you know, a good portion of that. We'll just say, 5 to 10 years. I can, give or take. Trying to remember how long back it was, right? Almost 10 years, I would say. But due to a stroke, and then yeah, his passing was him just finally, making peace that his time has come, right? And my last day with him was my mom calling me to try to talk him out of making his choice of not having dialysis, because his legs were building up with a lot of fluids. So he she wanted me to talk him out, but he was making his peace, and he probably just was waiting for me to see me for the last time. And in 6 hours after that meeting, I got a phone call from my youngest brother, that uh, he passed away. The medics were trying to revive him. They did, and then once again he went back into cardiac arrest. And yeah, just drove there, right? And I was looking after my 4-month-old son, being a dad for the first time, right? So wife was at work. And yeah, it was definitely a challenging time, right? As you just basically traded your first best friend with a new best friend, right? So, and now my new best friend is got bullied 16 months ago, and has not returned to schools, or has not returned to first year high school, so he's gonna be behind two grades, right? So, but that's not important. Most important is just his mental health, and he does not come out of his room anymore. Only at 5 hours from now. So 3 a.m. is when he comes out. 2 a.m. is when he comes out of his room. Just throw away his waste and restock his cooked food and uh, take it to his room to last him for the next 24 hours. So that's the routine. And yeah, well, we definitely have not seen. Well, I finally seen him yesterday, but we have not seen him since December, right? So or even maybe longer than that, right? So fortunately, I had to leave the house because to get to work. So unfortunately, unfortunately, but I had to run into him, and he wasn't really happy. He just, like I said, my room is right next to the kitchen, so he was cooking food, and when I had to come out because then, just go through the kitchen, go to the uh, office to grab my stuff, and then straight out the door. So that was the routine. But obviously, it's like I had to say sorry. Then he turned around to face the stove and just not looking, and then I just went straight. So that's the current situation with that. But yeah, I mean, overall, I need to look after my health better and just be ready for when he finally has that realization or awakening or however you want to call it. Just need to be healthy enough to support him, whether he turns 20, 30s, 40, however long it is. I need to you know be on top of my health to be there for him. And so yeah, he just lost faith in society, and with us as his parents, and he's just angry. And the doctor have assessed him with social anxiety disorder, but he's just happy with solitude at the moment. So um, that's where we currently are. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a challenging thing. It's a fight for me for my health because obviously, I'm gonna have to, keep my state, right, my emotional state to the level of not being stressed. Obviously, I have to, feel positive as much as possible through this whole situation, this challenge, just to let the body um, definitely not age faster due to stress, create complications due to stress, and sometimes you just kind of have to fake it, right? In this aspect to but as a parent, it's a very challenging time to just not see your child, and it's not the point where they've got married and they're starting their own thing, but at the point where they're there, but at the same time you haven't seen them, right? They're in the same roof, but you haven't seen them for months, right? So I am happy to see him. Where his hair is long, right? So I must say he looks great with it. But yeah, it's definitely, once again, it's a challenge situation to go through that, and then just pretend that you're happy about it, right? So yeah, once again, the body can tell the difference of stress through this situation, or stress from running away from a dangerous situation, a survival mechanism, right? So definitely very important to have those meditations, have those breathing exercise within your you know part of your lifestyle, right? So that you know you don't age as fast, right? You keep your body as young as possible, and improve your health span, and improve just you know definitely just stay healthy through eating right, and staying as positive and enjoyment, because the body uh, craves that stuff, and it's up to us to take the responsibility for our overall health, so that we're a lot younger than what's stated on our birth certificate, right, or passport, driver's license, right? So it's definitely up to us, but once again, it is challenging. The world uh, has different intentions with us when it comes to uh, eating their food, right? So it's really, really up to us to realize why we can't break away from these foods, why they taste great. Uh, they taste great for a reason, right? For us to eat our food over and over again. At the same time, it's convenient food is not always you know convenient for our health. Great tasting food at the same time is at the same time not convenient for our health, when they pack that stuff with uh, enhancements, right, to make it taste great, right? So but yeah, it's definitely let's do our very best to just take control, and be on top of our health. So I'll share more during the next few days, or the start on Monday, on especially for category 2 and 3, right? Those last 10 pounds, or significantly needing to reduce a lot more, right? So we'll talk about that part a bit more, right? These next few days. Uh, Category 1, I would love to. Well, are we watch? Or I'll be watching that as well this weekend, but at the same time, we won't be talking about that for this challenge. So when we head to April, and I get knowledge on who's joining and where they are on this journey, then um, yeah, we'll be talking about that in the next challenge starting in April. So let's say I'll be talking about this challenge in March. March 23, 24, 25th. We'll be doing a 3-day workshop to definitely give you guys a head start on the challenge, right? And if you guys feel that it's been helpful for you with the uh, first 2 weeks at your disposal, right? Just I just want to get people started, right? So if they've been helpful, then yeah, feel free to join us for the remainder of the challenge, right? Um, or just continue on. Just adding those 2 weeks, 2-week challenge, right? And then day two, we'll talk about building that identity, to building that core value, to filter through all the decisions that we have to make on a daily basis, which is average of 35K both conscious and subconscious, right? And then with that in mind, with having your core values set up, in day three, the final day, we'll talk about, what fuels your fire. So basically, to keep it simple, goal setting. So definitely different. We have a different take of goal settings, right? And instead of settings, we talk about experiences and how we're gonna get to experiencing those experiences, right? And then obviously now s- going past that, right? Going past to that to have purpose and basically, purpose and leaving a legacy behind. So giving you a task that that is not going to be completed. It's going to take your entire whole being to just make a dent at it. And that is definitely, once again, you know something that will basically help you achieve a lot more from the restrictions that we place on ourselves with you know our current lifestyle, our current status. So definitely gonna talk about in day three, and this for once again, this is gonna make the challenge so much a lot easier because like this is now what why you need to do this. So when challenges come along, you know what, because you are now determined to achieve this, there is no quit, right? You do this because you want to have these experiences, uh, right? So if you don't have the experiences, then we're gonna look for those excuses, those exits to drop out of feeling and being healthy again, right? Once again, it's not your fault. The food industry has all the marketing and to make their food taste great for us to buy them over and over again. But at the same time, convenient foods is not always that are convenient for our health. Great tasting foods, right? Comfort food is sometimes not comforting for our overall health. So definitely, it's really now up to us to take responsibilities for that, right? So all right. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. We'll speak more about these categories as I'm gonna digest the training material once again. Hopefully this weekend, and then uh, when it's go time for week number 9 on Monday, then yes, we have a better picture at that. And once again, for me, it's continuing on, right? And once again, week 6, week 7, week 8. So week 9, 10, just, at least, 5 weeks, 5 weeks of just going through the spring mode, right? And then we'll find out more options down the road in April. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. If this has been super helpful for you, feel free to give it the thumbs up or like button. Feel free to scan the QR code when I go live, or head over to coachryanj.com to get updated on the social links, right? And as always, this is being streamed on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So feel free to subscribe or follow whichever platform you're on. Feel free to hit those notification buttons and be updated when I go live. So once again, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. Thank you to my members, my followers on Twitch for being patient. Technical going through technical stuffs is live is you can't edit that stuff. It happens, right? So thank you guys for your patience as I dealt with the challenges, and once again, that just makes us stronger. Oh, sorry. Once again, yeah. Took the day off yesterday from streaming. Definitely staying up late now. The kind of defeats of purpose of sleeping yesterday. But yeah, I just need to get this wrap up video up. So just to keep you guys in the loop of things. All right, thank you so much for joining me. And once again, continue to raise your environment so that you can raise yourself. You don't have to rely on willpower, of strengthening your mindset, right? It's definitely important to surround yourself so that you can thrive in that environment and see yourself in that environment so that one day, especially you're creating your legacy, right? So one day you can be the impact um, in your own environment, which are your friends, your family, your colleagues, your own community, your loved ones, right? So be that change and be that beacon for them. As life is challenging, and we get caught up with it. I'm not saying that we should ignore it or wallow in it as much as possible. It's we need to find solutions, right? And we need to find ways to grow and excel. So definitely be that light of change for all these wonderful people, and pay it forward in a way that they too will pay it forward to others. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I wish you all a wonderful rest of your evening, and hopefully you all have a wonderful weekend ahead. I'll catch you again on the next stream. And yes, I wish you all the very best. Take good care.